She pointed that to me. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, we're getting started. We're already laughing. This is a really great sign. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I am your host, Jody King, and this is our very first podcast with a guest for this new season. And I wanted to kick it off intentionally with artist Maggie Stephens. If you are on, if you're on YouTube, you can see us. We're giddy. We're like, she's like all like, we're all smiles over here. If you're listening to it, you can't see any of that, but we're over here just kind of, just delighted with seeing each other. So I'm going to give them a little background about you. Okay, Maggie? Yeah, you can talk.
I didn't know if you were like doing an intro part and I was trying to like let you do the cool setup. I don't know.
I know. I feel like when I first started the podcast, I was trying to do that. I was trying to be very professional. And then I just thought, why don't I just be me?
You're just being the Jodes.
We'll just figure it out from there. But okay. So everyone, I'm going to say this at the beginning. I'll say it at the end. I always say it about artists' work at the end for sure. But go to Instagram, go to the internets, go to whatever you can do. You have got to see Maggie Stephens' work. So her Instagram handle, which I think is hilarious, is Magpie in Your Eye. That should tell you a little bit about Maggie before we get started. It's just like she's got the best sense of humor. And she's so incredibly creative. But I first met Maggie, like 6 months ago or something like that, Maggie? When was it? When we went to see the Brian Eno thing.
I feel like I've known you forever, and I don't really have a good sense of time, so it's hard to say, really.
Yeah. Well, but I became such a ginormous fan of Maggie's art once again, like another reminder in December when she had an art show here in Austin. And Maggie's work is just, it's like an assemblage of all types of things. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see she's got a wreath of hers in the background. But she gathers found objects. Maggie, what did you describe your work? How about we do that? Hi, welcome, Maggie Stephens.
Hello, everyone. I'm never good at talking about myself, and also I'm really nervous. I should say that. I always say I make weird things out of things, but basically, I don't know. I find weird things, ugly things, strange old things, and I put them together, and I collect them.
Well, one of the things that you did recently here at if you guys know Austin, you will know the iconic store by George. And Maggie recently did a collaboration with By George and did a community. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah.
And tell us about the tree, because holy shit, that was unbelievable.
Thank you. It was a really fun project. I've worked with By George and I've shown wreaths there for several years, but this was a really fun project because it actually got a bunch of people involved. So we created a 12.5-foot tall Christmas tree in the style of the wreath that's behind me. We took found objects and made sort of my cat's about to come in front of me, but we made a giant Christmas tree that incorporated it was like a sugar plum tree of everything that might go into a Christmas celebration. So it was made of stockings and ornaments and presents and weird decorations and
like toy soldiers, right? Like toy soldiers and stuffed animals and just insanity. I mean,
it was fun.
It
was, but it was a community tree because we invited people from the community to donate items that became part of the tree. So that was really exciting. I've wanted to do that with my work for a while because normally I'm the treasure hunter. I go out and I collect all these items, and I have friends and family members who help me find things. But it was fun to invite other people to help, and then they got to see their items as part of the finished work. So that felt really satisfying and joyful to get to see people get excited to see their own objects in the finished piece.
Right.
It's really cool.
Right. What a great idea. And then I know the show that you did the first part of December was incredible. And it was incredible to see your pieces. So your pieces, for those of you're going to lose your mind when you see Maggie's work. I mean, I don't say this lightly. You're going to lose your mind. So her pieces can be as small as smaller pieces, right? And and then I know you do the wreaths, but then the piece that the one that you had hanging in the show, it was like a rainbow. Is that right?
Yeah, it was 9 feet, about 9 feet tall and 9 feet wide, and it was made up of 7 individual arcs of different colors that come together to make this circular rainbow, each a different color that they nest together.
Yeah.
And that piece took 6 years to make in terms
6
of collecting all
years.
Yeah,
6
and my friend who's a blacksmith made all the armatures, and she made the armature for the community and woods. So it's fun to get to. I love making those bigger pieces because they're just kind of visually arresting, and they kind of delight in a way, like you're a little kid and you're like, oh my God, what is that? I love that wow factor.
The wow factor is like it from a distance. It's like, holy crap, what am I looking at? And it brings you in. It's like a magnet. Your work brings people to it. And like I can imagine if you are listening to this and you have any connections with a children's hospital, Maggie's work, the one that we're talking about now, this rainbow, this 9 foot by 9 foot, this piece needs to be in a children's hospital because the delight and the awe, actually any place that needs a lift, right? Love and hope and encouragement. I just think of it as the kids wouldn't want to walk away. It would make them it made me happy because it reminded me of being a kid, right? I just want to sit with it. I want to stay with it. And I know that people collect your work because they want that joy in their homes. They want to be able to come back to it and see it again and again and maybe find something they didn't even know was in there.
Well, and that's something else. I like to hide secret Easter egg items in my work. So whether it's, I just made a frog wreath and it was all frogs and there was different things hidden in it. There was a little prince hidden in there, or there was a frog and he was actually a box, and if you opened him there were rings inside. So there are lots of storytelling elements I put into my work. There was a wreath I did that was corn, and there were little children in it, so they were the children of the corn.
Children of the
I always
corn.
try to put, like, if there's something dirty or inappropriate, I usually put that in there. Or
This is why I love you.
Not for like the rainbow thing, but I mean maybe for that too. But I have the sense of humor of a 13-year-old boy, so there's usually goofy things in it.
Well, this is why I was probably drawn to you also, because I love your humor. I love the way you used humor in your art. But this is really something I don't know. So obviously I know Maggie, but I don't know all of her background and history, because when you're in the room with Maggie, you just want to, Maggie, are so present, and it's like, you just make me excited to be like with you in the room. And so I don't have the sense to go, hey, how did all this get started anyway? But that's my question to you now, because I'm always so delighted about your work and what you're doing that I've never thought to ask you, how did all of this get started? Like, were you, like, for me, Maggie, I didn't become like, quote, an artist. I was like 35, right? But were you doing this kind of stuff as a kid, or when did all of the, because you're so creative in so many ways.
I mean, I've always been a maker, so I've always made different, I've always done different things. I'm a knitter, and I love fiber art, and, if you look on my Instagram, there's other, like you can see some of my knitting work. I've done giant knit installations. I did like a giant knit monster knit bomb on a huge vent at a store here in Austin, and I did a knit installation on my front gate of my house. So like I've done different things, but this particular kind of assemblage collage with 3D found objects came out of a project that Anna and I did. Our mutual friend Anna. We found this tutorial for making Christmas wreaths, and we out of like Christmas balls, and we made them at her house one year for Christmas in like 2017, and it was fun. And then I started thinking, but what if you made them out of other things? And then the first one I made was out of chickens, and then it kind of spiraled out of that.
Wait,
because of Anna.
Wait.
Anna Stapleton is a very talented painter who's our mutual friend, and so it's Anna's fault, actually.
It's Anna's fault. Okay, wait. Did you just go, okay, I went from creating wreaths out of balls, which tracks, right? That tracks, to going, I think but what would happen if I used chickens?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not where my mind would immediately go. But what if we use chickens? That is so funny.
It just seemed funny. Yeah.
That is okay. That's hilarious. Also, so you said you knit, as well as, all of these things. And then I love this. So prior to any podcast that we do, we like to do a little research and ask different questions of the guests. And I love this. It says Maggie lives and works in Austin, Texas. Yeah. But then it says her mom is proud she still plays the cello.
She is. She's proud.
That is amazing. My youngest daughter played the cello when she was younger also, but I can tell you she doesn't anymore. But if she did, I would want her to use that as her opener for any of this.
It's never too late to go back, Jody. You can tell her.
Oh, I will. Yeah, she's a writer, so she's also an artist like we are. But yeah, so okay. So I love that. I didn't know what kind of the impetus was for these assemblage pieces. Okay, tell me a little bit about this creative process. And I know I was lucky enough to be on a panel with you talking about this in December, so it was so cool. But what I want other people to know, because in this room with Maggie's art, it was so interesting to see everybody coming up to you, Maggie, and everybody was like, "How do you do this?" Right? Like. And so you don't have to tell us like exactly how you create these pieces, but can you tell us a little bit just like about the creative process? Like, do the objects inform the piece? Do you think of the piece and then go find the objects? Like, how does tell us about your creative process?
It's kind of both. Sometimes I get on a theme, and sometimes there's a person who wants a thing. Like I have a friend named Phil, and he really wants a cardinal wreath. And so I have a box in my studio where I've been saving cardinals for Phil for 2 years. And every time I find a cardinal, I put it in the box of cardinals for Phil. And it's just a little collection process. And that's Phil's cardinal box, and I just save cardinals for Phil. And then sometimes I get a big idea for a bigger thing, and I collect towards it. And then sometimes I find I just have a plethora of a thing, and then I think, oh, I could do this, and then I make that. So it kind of works both ways. But there are definitely two phases, like the collection process and then the assembly process. And then sometimes, depending on what it is, I work with my friend Anne, who's the blacksmith and engineer, really, to make the armatures to support whatever it is we're going to build. So
right.
Depending on how much structure and strength it needs, like I've been working on this Circle of Life piece for a couple years, and it needed strength, and so she's helping me with that. So yeah, it kind of depends on what it is.
Yeah.
the process.
Well,
But
that's really interesting that you say that because, you know, I think that it's really easy to look at like a wreath, for instance, like what you have behind you, or some of the other things you do, and you just think, well, I'm going to run to Michael's and get some styrofoam. I'm going to start putting together. But oh my gosh, it gets heavy, and so you are having to balance the idea. Thank goodness that you have a collaborative experience with another artist who can do that with you. But it's a big deal. Like your pieces are sturdy.
They're very heavy and very fragile, which is really stupid and hard. And a lot of the times they take several people to move them, and I can't always carry them or move them by myself. So yeah, that part, it goes into the planning, and we've gotten better as they've gotten bigger and as we've done more of them, to learn, oh, we should put handles on the backs of things. Oh, that's smart. Or learning like what adhesives work better. Like hot glue is the worst, dumbest adhesive ever. Don't use that. Use E6000. It works better, but it's
use what? Sorry, say that again.
E6000.
E6000. Okay.
It's great, but it's really
Don't
tough.
worry. Yeah, I'm not going to be any competition.
No, I'll tell everyone. I like people to know things, but wear a respirator because it's really toxic. Don't breathe it. Wear a respirator. Wear gloves. I'm always happy to share my processes and methods with people, because I think if anyone wants to do what I do, it's a lot of work, and
yeah,
it's expensive, and it costs a lot of money to buy all the stuff, and it costs a lot of money to buy all the glue. And if you want to do it right. Don't waste your money buying all the stuff and then gluing it with hot glue. All your stuff's going to fall apart. I'm happy to share what I know with other people if they want to make stuff too,
Right. Well, so I love that you said there's like two parts of it, right? There's the collection piece, right?
Yes.
And then there's the actually creating the object piece, right?
Yes.
So which one do you find is like the thing that you're wrestling with most? Is it just like you don't eat? Because what I'm thinking is I would have an idea, right? Uh-huh. I wouldn't have the chicken idea. And that is the funniest shit I've ever heard. That is, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, how can I get a chicken wreath from Maggie? But anyway.
I'll make you one. You want one?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's so exciting. But I would think, which one is the thing that is challenging most? Because it's like now you have an idea, but you don't know if it's going to be like, when it's going to happen, right? Like, can you tell when you're going to finish collecting? I mean,
well, okay, so some things are easier than others. Like chickens are actually pretty easy. Like it's pretty easy to find chickens. I kind of know them. This is like inside baseball on vintage Touch, Jody. Like chickens are pretty easy to find. Mushrooms are hard to find.
That is crazy. I never would have thought that.
Yeah, like
I mean, because
I know
mushrooms. I'm a fan of mushrooms.
Mushrooms are hard to find.
Well, is it because of all of the people like me who all of a sudden are all about psilocybin and everybody?
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
so we're part of the problem. We're making your life difficult.
Well, they're more rare, and they're just harder to find. Like, and you need, like, to make a good assemblage, you need things of different materials. So like you can't just have a bunch of plastic things or a bunch of ceramic things.
Yeah.
You need fabric and plastic and wood, and you need a mix of all the materials and all the colors and all the sizes, or it has to be a really good mix, or else it won't be fun enough.
Right. Well, that's honestly, Maggie, that's a big heads up for people, and in terms of creative process, just like that you shared that. That says so much about you, Maggie. You're such an open book. You're just always like, how can you help people? Like that's just really who you are. So you're like, oh no, if you want to make something great, you need to have all of these different types of, items, right? I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Let's do. Here's
Well,
how
all
to
right.
do
So
it.
now let's say you've got an idea. I
Okay.
don't let me put this in your. But here's what I'm thinking is like, okay, she gets an idea, and then she starts collecting, regardless of how it came out. So where do you put all of the things that you collect?
Oh, Jody. See, okay, I wish we could be in my studio for this, except for the internet doesn't reach over there, so we're in my kitchen, which is not as cool. So, I have a very messy studio that's sort of frightening and delightful at the same time. But there's all these IKEA bins that have drawers, and they just hold all the collections of tchotchkes. And
Yeah.
they just wait until they're ready to be put together.
Yeah.
And
That must be exciting when because you collect and you collect and you collect and you
I'm
collect. How,
basically a hoarder. I'm like a little old granny that just collects weird tchotchkes. Yes.
well, but I've heard you say that, you sometimes collect for years, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you
How
don't
do you know
know.
when it's time to go to work?
I don't know. Sometimes you just know, and sometimes you don't know what you're gonna use stuff for till it's time to use it. And then I'll get like a big cookie sheet and like pull from all the different bins. Like sometimes you don't know a theme until someone says like somebody wanted a wreath with a fall theme, and I had never thought of doing that. But then I ended up pulling things from all different bins. And some of the bins are sorted by theme, and some are by color, and some are by they're sorted all different ways that make sense in my brain, but I
Yeah.
kind of know where stuff is.
Yeah.
But then and then it's like making a palette, I guess,
Yeah.
like a paint palette, and I'll put it all on one big thing to pull from, like for a wreath, not for a bigger, like not for a rainbow or the tree or something. The tree was like this, but on steroids. I had huge buckets of green things. All that was like a whole bigger project. I had a whole room that I had bins of green. That it was a bigger project, but yeah. And then I pull from that to put it together like a
Yeah.
starting with the big things and then working smaller and working in layers.
Right. So if somebody were to commission a piece from you, it could take years to get the piece. Is that right? I mean, it would
Yeah,
make
I
like
mean,
you would have to, unless you had the items already
I
on
have a
hand.
lot of items, and depending on what it is, and it's and it, yeah, yeah. It could be faster or slower, but yeah, it could take years
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on what it is.
So as an artist, do you find that like the time issue is can be challenging in terms of revenue? Like because you're not sure when something is going to happen or how long it's going to take. Or I'm thinking because there's so many artists who are like do realism, so it's
Oh, sure.
painstakingly long. It could take them a year to do one painting, and so from a revenue perspective, they have to think of other ways that they can bring in revenue other than just selling one painting, and then they need to sell, then it's another year, right? So they have other things that they do like prints or things like that. But so for you, does it create also a revenue challenge when it can take so long to gather all of that, the process?
Yes, for sure. The revenue on the work is not ideal, Jody. That is the truth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I don't even. I probably need to take a class. I probably need to take your class to really
Yeah.
work on that.
We could just go to lunch and I'll give you
I
some.
need some one-on-one coaching about that. And we can talk offline about that. Yeah, and the economics of the work are not good. And the pricing is challenging.
Yeah.
And that part is not. It's definitely like something I love doing, and
Yeah.
it makes me happy, and I do it because I find it delightful,
Yeah.
because it brings joy to people, and And
Well,
that's what I,
that's its own version of success, right? I mean,
okay,
for us
good.
as artists, we have to it has to be part of it. It has to, because there are slow seasons and there are other seasons where it's more bountiful, but there's definitely it's like the joy of it sometimes has to be the thing, that sustains us for a while, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I can't not do it. It's kind of addictive.
Yeah.
It's meditative, and it's so fun to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so fun, and I just love doing it. So
Yeah. Do you know what, Maggie? I'm writing a book right now, and so I'm doing a lot of research about art and what happens to us as artists. Like what you just said, it's addictive. It's like if we step away from it, there's something that feels off within us,
uh-huh.
especially if we've been creating for a while. It's not as noticeable if you're kind of just starting, but then even there's benefits when you're just starting. But where I'm going to with this is I've been doing research for the book, and Martha Beck. I don't know if you're familiar with Martha Beck.
Oh yeah.
She's incredible. She was like Oprah's life coach for a long time. She may still be, but she wrote a book about anxiety and through her research. So she's a Harvard researcher. She's just a badass in general, but she found that there is an inverse effect between anxiety and creativity. So the lower the creativity in our lives, the higher the anxiety,
That totally tracks.
right? And then she noticed the more creativity, the lower the anxiety. So and I also have been reading a book. Sorry for whoever wrote it, but it's boring. It's very technical. It's called Your Brain on Art. I mean, it's not really like casual reading, right? But there's just so much research that's being done right now, which is why I love this, about really what happens to us when we create. And it's kind of like what you're saying, right? It's like you can't stay away from it too long once you've felt the effects of creating.
It's Jody, it's all I want to do. Like, I'm like, can I just make things all the time? Like, that's really all I'm interested in. And I'm not, yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
I do.
We can talk. Let's talk about how to monetize it to make it, a little more, financially rewarding for you as
Yes,
well.
thank you, Jody. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll go have a drink sometime and we'll get into it. But okay, so I have a couple more questions for you, but I'm just curious, has there been an item that you have found, or a few items that you have found that have been like something really unique, or you're just like, I cannot believe I was able to find this. This is the coolest thing. Or are you delighted all the time about items that you've found?
I mean, that's kind of part of the thrill, I think. I mean, I love the treasure hunt of it.
Yeah.
And by and I think finding the items and then getting to I feel like they're like lost, and then getting to showcase them and put them, they're like, okay, so like I used to find all these nativity people at thrift stores, and I would feel so sad for them because like, oh look, like here's a wise man, and he used to like be so special, and like he was in someone's nativity set, and now he's like lonely, and like he's by himself, and he doesn't have a family, and so like I saved them all up, and then I made a wreath that was called Blended Families, and I put them in all these
Oh my
family sets,
God.
and I made new families, and like some had two Marys, and like some, and like, but like they were all special, and like I called it Blended Families, and so like they were all special, but like I felt like then they had new life, and like they had new families, and like but like I just feel like it's always that, or like just if you take things that are really ugly, but you put a bunch of them together,
Yeah.
then they're like special again.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's it's always that, you know?
Yeah.
So
Maggie, the way you view the world just it delights me. That's why I keep laughing. I'm sorry. I hope it's not coming across
No, I
in the
like
podcast that I'm laughing at you. It's just that you're so infectious, and the way you look at the world just absolutely makes me giddy.
I
Just,
feel sorry for weird items at thrift stores. I'm like, he was lonely.
I feel
He
sorry
needs to go home with
This is
me.
the quote. This is the pull quote from the podcast. I feel sorry for weird items at thrift stores. But then you repurpose them. No, okay, now listen. We're going to be wrapping up this podcast, but I started saying this at the beginning. I'm not even kidding a little bit. If you know of somebody in the children's hospital world that needs a piece of art to delight, to uplift the children, the people that walk in, please reach out to Maggie about her work, because you're gonna especially when you see it in person, people lose their minds. I've witnessed it. I've experienced it, and I have witnessed it. It is just really remarkable. And you're such a giving, open-hearted person. You know, and the way you did the tree and involved the community here in Austin, just everything that you do, it's just such a delight to have experienced you and have experienced your work. And I just want the whole world to know about you.
Oh, thanks, Jody.
And now they will.
Oh, thanks. You're sweet.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, so Maggie, how can people see your work? Is it shown anywhere, or do you just do pop-up shows right now?
So I need to be better about all of that. Again, I need to do the Jody King consultation class.
Yes.
But, so far, I'm doing pop-ups by George in Austin during the holidays, but that's really the only place in person. And then Instagram, you can reach out if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so definitely go to Magpie in Your Eye. We will put Maggie's Instagram handle in the show notes. Definitely check her out. Go follow her. If you just need to be delighted in any way, it's a shit show in the world right now, but thank God there are the likes of Maggie Stephens out here to keep our hearts happy. And such a fan of you and your work, Maggie. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm just glad to get to chat with you.
I know. We need to get together again soon.
Yes, please.
Yes, that would be awesome. All right, everyone. Definitely go check out Maggie's work. And thanks for listening here on the Honest Art Podcast. You guys take good care, and we'll talk soon. Whether you are a new painter or a seasoned one, there's always something that we can do to elevate our art to fine art status. That's why I created the color course for Rebels, to give you the tools to do just that without the hefty price tag of art school. I am a grateful 7-figure artist, and this course is everything that I use in my art practice to sell paintings globally, to get into art galleries, to get into exhibitions, and everything like that. So the color course for Rebels is going to teach you all about values. It's going to teach you about composition. It's going to give you tips for you to find your own style. It's going to help with color saturation. It's going to give you my trademark color mixing method. And within the course, I also paint an entire painting, start to finish, including the fugly stage. And the price for the course starts at only $67. So if you'd like to learn more about it and elevate your art, go to the link in the show notes to learn more about the color course for Rebels.